Hey fellow hobbyists, in part 3 of our Christmas Kiosk build series, we're going to assemble the touchscreen to the Raspberry Pi. The first thing I'm going to do is put some heat sinks on my Raspberry Pi just to make sure it stays nice and cool while driving this large display and while it's inside an enclosure. A couple of these chips on here can get pretty warm during use. For this build, I used the Eleclab HDMI LCD display, 10.1 inches, 1280 by 800 pixel resolution. So we'll go ahead and open this guy up. There's a lot of stuff in here, but there's not much we actually need for this build. Obviously, we need the LCD screen itself, the touch screen. We are going to need this little guy. They have a name for it in the instructions. It's not very clear to me from that, but it's a USB to a little 4-pin. You'll need that. So we'll need that piece. We need this little blue ribbon here if you're working with a Raspberry Pi. This little adapter, which is a mini HDMI to ribbon cable adapter, and the screws and screwdriver. So it comes with a little pack of screws right here. So it's a little pack of these black screws, and then they give you a screwdriver if you don't have your own electronics tool set. And that's all you need out of this box. So this is made very specifically for Raspberry Pi, I think models 2 through 4 that mount right here. This bolt hole pattern matches. I'm using a Raspberry Pi 4, and this whole tutorial we'll talk about a Raspberry Pi 4. Now with the SD card already inserted, we're going to mount the Raspberry Pi to this board with our USB and Ethernet connectors facing the same direction as the connectors on this board for the HDMI and power over here on the right side of the video. So we just kind of put this guy here, line up the 4 holes. We want to use the 4 smallest screws, so I'm just going to dump all those out. Now that the board's attached, we'll go ahead and attach the HDMI adapter and ribbon cable. Something the instructions here did not do a good job of, I didn't think, is explaining how to put these in and how to use the little connectors they go in, because these are some very little connectors with some very little locking mechanisms that, if you're not familiar with them, can be a little confusing on how to operate. So one of the keys to understand is that the blue goes up, right, facing away from the LCD, and that this connector has to go down. So it'll say this Eleclab rPi 4 HDMI, that faces away from the LCD. So that's going to face up, which means this connector faces down. So the way these connect, the way this one's going to connect, is it's going to slide in here with the metal part facing up. So put it in like that. So notice this is the side without the writing and with the connector on it. So you're going to put that in with the blue facing the side with the writing and the metal facing the side with the connector. This connector then pushes down until it clicks down. This little black bar right here is the locking piece of this connector. So down is locked, up is open. So we're going to click that down just to make sure that this is secure. Now we need to flip this over to put the blue side into this connector. Again, making sure this one also has the black locking tab right here to the right. Needs to be up, needs to be flipped up. And then you're going to put this in with the blue facing up. Making sure you push it all the way in as far as it'll go. Don't have to push too hard, but you want to fully seat it. And then you take and you push this little black lever down. It does click, but it clicks very, very gently. So you just gotta push it down, make sure it's all the way down. And now we can take and plug this into whichever HDMI port we plan on using on our rPi. For me, it's the one that is closest to the USB power port. And we are now hooked up to the HDMI port of the display. Next piece is this little USB adapter. It's really just a right angle adapter. It just happens to be mounted to a circuit board instead of a connector. So we're going to plug that in to one of our USB ports and this little 4-pin connector down here. So the 4-pin connector kind of dictates that it has to be this lower left port for everything to line up without putting torque on this PCB. So lower left USB into the little port right here. And guys, that's it. We are now fully connected to our Raspberry Pi for data. Obviously, we still have to do power. So I'm going to use some adapters, some 90-degree adapters for the USB C power input to the monitor and to the Pi, just to simplify and clean up cable routing a little bit. In my install for the Christmas Kiosk, I will not use this HDMI port. I'm going to use these two USB ports. So this will be my input power from a power supply, and then I'm going to take this as an output and route it into my Raspberry Pi. So this will forward the power from this port to this port, and from this port into the Raspberry Pi, so that I only have to have one power connection into the board.